Hello, peeps and creeps, and welcome to Fright Club. I'm Gav, he's Danny.
Hello.
We are the Fright Club NI, and this is a brand new episode of Monday Night Frights. On tonight's show, we're talking about one of the best horror films to come out of the UK in the last 20 years. The Descent.
Oh.
Could be any one of these tunnels. Take your pick. Oh, fuck it. Hello! Please. Is there anybody there? Hello!
And we're back. It's episode 4.2, talking about The Descent.
Yes.
One of the best British horror films in the last 20 years, written and directed by Neil Marshall. Danny, what's your thoughts on the movie? When did you first see it?
I first seen it when I was second year at uni, and at that time I didn't give much thought to it because I think I was probably distracted by like other shite, social media, or just drinking or whatever the fuck was going on. And at the time, it was just like, nah. But rewatching it for this, I was like, actually, you know what? No, I did not give this enough credit the first time around. Like, this is really good, and nice character development throughout, and the kind of relationships between the girls and stuff is fantastic. And the creature design as well, very simple but effective. I really enjoyed it, and I wish I had paid more attention the first time around to it. But what about you? When was your first descent down into The Descent?
I didn't see this film until about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I was aware of it pretty much since its release on DVD. I'd always seen it in the shops and been like, oh, that looks quite good, and was sort of drawn to it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also I knew it was by the same director that directed Dog Soldiers, which I love. Dog Soldiers. I remember going
Dog Soldiers.
I remember going to see it in the cinema with a couple of my friends when it was first released, and really, really enjoyed Dog Soldiers. But The Descent kind of just went over my head. I didn't really think much about it, really. And then a few years ago, I was like, right, I actually need to watch this film because everyone goes on about it being such a great movie. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it the first time around. A bit like you, it was kind of just like, it is good, but it didn't really, strike a nerve with me or do much for me until I rewatched it for the second time a couple of years ago. So a couple of years after my first watch. And then it was like, wow, this is actually fucking brilliant. Like this definitely deserves all the praise that it's got. And it definitely, is a very important movie on different levels. And just fantastic movie. Really simple story, really, when you think about it. Yeah. But they've done so many amazing things with this film.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I like Sarah's whole kind of narrative throughout. Like hers, obviously, her narrative's the kind of the thing that drives a lot of the tensions and the friendships and why they go out and do these things. But yeah, I completely forgot about the start of the film. So when that happened, I was just like, oh fuck, I forgot this was like a whole plot point to it, which actually just sort of then added to it when I was rewatching. I was like, actually, you know what, their whole kind of reasoning now makes a lot more sense. And again, I don't know why the first time I watched it, I was just obviously being a daft wee student and probably paying very little attention to what was actually going on.
Yeah.
Even though I studied media, so I should have probably been paying attention.
You're too busy getting drunk. Anyway, so we actually forgot to mention this is part one of our Descent week. We are having 2 episodes this week. The second episode will be released in a couple of days after this, so keep an eye on the YouTube channel for that.
Doing a bit of a deep dive.
Yes, if you want to know what part 2 is going to be about, you'll have to hang about to the end of the episode because we're not going to tell you. But we will reveal a bit more towards the end of this episode, so please hang about till the end of this one, and we'll tell you a little bit about episode 2 coming in a couple of days.
Very exciting.
It's very exciting. It's been great. It's been great doing it all, so looking forward to it. So this was released. This is 16 years old, Danny. It has come of age.
Man, that's 16, crazy.
It's legally it can smoke. Is that right? Yeah.
16? No, you can't smoke at 16. Can it have sex? You have to be 18. Yeah, I think age of consent. I think it's got the age of consent thing down, but 16? It can't smoke or drink yet.
Right.
Yeah. But I was 12 then when this film came out. I was 12 years old.
Right.
So yeah, and then obviously uni. Yeah, it would have been about second year. 19. I was 19 then when I watched it. Yeah.
So it was actually released, I think it was start of July in 2005. So last month, 16 years ago, it was released in cinemas in the UK, and then I think it got a US release not long after that.
Is this one of those ones where it didn't, it maybe, well, I imagine you're gonna hit us with those figures,
Yes.
but would I be right in thinking that this found its place on DVD?
You would be wrong, Danny.
Oh,
It was very successful in the cinema.
very
It was
good.
very successful. It actually got picked up by Lionsgate to be distributed in the US and throughout the world.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be released, I want to say, at the end of 2005, start of 2006, but they pushed the release forward because there was another film with a very similar premise that was being made alongside it. I think it was like more of a US based production, and it was called The Cave, and it was released shortly after this one. But they pushed this date forward so that this could be released first. Obviously, because you want to get a head start on something like that.
Yeah, you don't want people choosing one cave movie over the other cave movie.
As we said, it was written and directed by Neil Marshall, who started off his career really well. His last couple of films maybe haven't quite lived up to his early stuff. What did you think of Hellboy? And it was okay.
It was okay. It was all right. It was okay. I mean, nothing compared to Del Toro's, just
Guillermo.
I had so much hope for it, and then it was a bit flat.
It was a wee bit flat, yeah. It was okay. It was fun enough, but yeah, it wasn't great. He has also done a new movie called The Reckoning, I want to say, which I haven't got around to watching. I think it's on Shudder at the minute, so I'll try and it's about like witch trials and stuff, which I'm very
love a wee witch trial movie.
Yeah, very big into the witches and stuff. It's something to do with witches anyway, so I'll be checking that out at some point. It's got mixed reviews, to be honest, so I don't know. I'll make my own mind up when I see it. Budget time, Danny.
Budget time. Give us those figures, Gav. Give us those figures.
It was made for approximately $3.5 million, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, to think that this film was only made on $3.5 million is unreal. And it made $57 million at the box office.
Nice.
And then I think, obviously, yes, it found a huge audience on home release as well, and has since become one of the better horrors out of the UK.
Yeah. In
the last 20 years, as we said at the start of the episode. But I think it's really just in general one of the best modern horrors.
Yeah, definitely.
That I can think of anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't really play into too many tropes, and it's sort of, it's not like you're almost waiting from the start for some sort of male savior to come in, and it never happens, which is really nice. You expect, the mountain rescue man to come and help out, but it never actually happens. So that was really, I imagine, for the time of its release, people were probably like, ooh, so definitely, like, it definitely still stands up to that notion as well of female empowerment, and you don't necessarily need, and again, it's not even down to like sex, it's just down to the fact that these are a group of friends who happen to be experienced. But again, sometimes, as they sort of say in the film, your ego can go beyond your experience, and that's when things start to fuck up. Because this, I think, even if you remove the kind of creature element of this movie, it would still be quite scary because it's very claustrophobic. And the notion of being like trapped down in an underground cave system as like a natural horror, like the horrors of nature almost, would be enough to say. Because even like watching it, and they're going through like bits of the tunnel and stuff, and it starts to like cave in behind them, I'm like, no, fuck that. I'd freak out.
I think that was the whole point of the whole script, and the original idea was that the creatures actually were something that we were added in a little bit later on in the genesis of the concept anyway. And the original horror was the fact that it was about these 6 friends who were trapped in this cave system, and the whole way through the movie it's a very slow build. Like it's not as if you get jump scares at the start of the movie or anything like that. That kind of sets in and up. It is a real slow, tense build up.
Pretty much, you don't really see any creature until I think over halfway through the film, and then it all absolutely ramps up and goes a bit mental. Then once the creatures finally do appear,
Yeah.
But it makes for some great sort of action and, you know, again, fantastic character development with the whole kind of turning on each other, sort of, you know, not intentionally turning on each other, but, you know, everything that kind of happens thereafter, you're like, fuck.
There's definitely intentions there from one particular character called Juno, who's a bit of a bitch.
Yeah.
So we'll go through the characters a little bit before we get into the plot, but 6 adventurous friends travel to North Carolina. It's set in North Carolina, but it was actually filmed in Scotland, on location in Scotland, and the interior shots were filmed at Pinewood Studios. They built a whole cave system at Pinewood, which they would break down at the end of each night or every couple of nights, and then they would reform it into a different part of the cave. Which, you know, that's really clever. It's budget reasons. Awesome. But they go caving. They go whitewater rafting at the start of this, and you can tell they're obviously, you know, adrenaline junkies. Yeah, exactly. And they end up going spelunking, I believe is the correct word.
Going for a little spelunk.
A little spelunk. Thank you, Batman Begins, for letting everybody know what spelunking was. And shit hits the fan. Initially, it hits the fan whenever
it hits the fan straight at the start of the film. Yeah. Like when that there. So they've been whitewater rafting in Scotland. I think that's where the premise is. Sarah is the Scottish character. Juno is their American friend. So they must have all went to uni together or something. And they're English friends with them, and they're doing the whitewater rafting. You can see Sarah's husband and daughter are like standing at the side of the river, like waving off to them, like, it's great fun. And then there's the whole kind of moment with Juno and the husband, which you're kind of like, ooh. But that there,
yeah, they share a sort of, isn't it, when she gets out or something?
She gets the English girl pushes her into the river, and she's climbing out, and he gives her a hand out, right. And they've kind of got this, you know, intimate eye moment, and you're almost like, right. And then they let Sarah go off. They're going to get the gear together, and Sarah, you can go with your husband and your daughter, and they're driving away, and it looks like Sarah and her husband are about to get into an argument, and then next thing, and fucking Final Destination shit,
it really is,
pipes right through the window through the husband's head. What a fucking just absolutely gruesome way to start the film. Is with that there. Now I'm kind of glad that you don't necessarily have to see anything happen to the daughter. But we do then get that scene at the hospital where Sarah's just woke up and she's shouting for her daughter, and you know, it all kind of clicks together that she's the only one that survived the crash.
I love that scene. I love that scene where she wakens up in the hospital. I just love the way it's shot, and when she's running down the hospital aisle, basically, and it's like the lights are out, and then they come on, and then she eventually runs into. It's Juno, isn't it? She bumps into Juno.
No, it's not Juno.
Is it?
It's what's the English friend's name?
Beth.
She runs into Beth, and Beth kind of holds her, and Juno's just kind of like standing behind her, like
crying,
ugly crying behind her. And again, you kind of wonder, right? Well, are you crying for your friend, or are you crying because you were diddling her husband and he's gone now? You know, and there's a line later on in the film when I think Beth's kind of confronting Juno about something, and it's like, Juno says, we all lost something in that crash.
Yeah.
And again, it's not something that is ever actually confirmed, I don't think, throughout the film. It's always just kind of implied that Juno was doing a bit of dirty on the side with Sarah's husband.
Obviously it's confirmed near the end, but
up until that point, you're kind of like...
At this point, you're sort of thinking, is she talking about because she lost a part of Sarah? Because... the whole kind of point of Juno going into the cave system, she said that she wanted. They feel like the friendship, or the group had lost their friendship with Sarah because of the accident that happened, and they're trying to rebond and you know, come together and all that sort of stuff. So it is very layered. The story is layered, and I love that about it, and it does keep you guessing. But yeah, that opening scene with the kid, and you know, fantastic acting, and really brutal scene. But the lead star of this film is Shauna Macdonald. She plays Sarah. She's amazing in it.
Yep.
And then the rest of the cast, you know, although she is the lead star, you know, it is very much an ensemble piece with the rest of the girls, and they're all fantastic. And I love the fact that they're very diverse.
Yeah, they all have such different, like, obviously they have their personalities, and you know, Juno's kind of the older kind of adrenaline junkie type, and then you've got the younger adrenaline junkie from the girl from Galway, and yeah, and then you've got the one who's almost like the medic of the group, and then you've got like the more sort of sensible one, and yeah, but yeah, as you say, very diverse group. But the thing that kind of brings them all together is that they are all a bit adrenaline junkie-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as Juno and I'm terrible with names. The Galway girl.
Holly.
Girl. Holly. Yeah.
Holly.
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 Again, is she actually, it's one of those things, see when you hear like Irish accents in movies and you're like,
she is Irish. No,
she is actually Irish. Again, one of those ones where it's like, are you spoofing? Because it's a good spoof.
I know.
But are you spoofing?
She was in the Magdalene Sisters. That's where I remember her.
Oh, very good.
She's been in a few Irish films over the years, but she's a big actress. She's done loads of other stuff as well.
Yeah.
So she's done a lot of stuff. Shauna Macdonald has since done loads of stuff after this. A few of the other casts have done things as well, and I think what's the girl's name? Sam is played by Mayanna Buring, who was in the Kill List as well. Kill List.
Oh, yeah.
She's the wife, the Swedish wife from Kill List. So
that now makes, because again, they've all got faces that you go, I know your face, but where do I know it from? But
I know you.
I know you.
I know you. I know your face. So yeah, cast are amazing, and you know they really do a good job of making it feel real. And since that these girls are friends in real life,
genuine friends, but again, they have, as I said before, they've got their tensions, their frustrations, there's certain things, but there's also maybe potential romances that again don't really get too delved into, but you kind of get notions of like, oh, what's going on here?
But if you have a group of 6 friends, whether they be male, female, or male and female, you're going to have tensions between some. You always get that where there's normally 2 leaders in a group, and they're best friends, but they're kind of competitive, in a very silent way. And then you have a couple of other ones who, and you always have one who just doesn't give a fuck, in a group of 6. And I think that realism that was brought to it with the tension and kind of, they've all got this little kind of thing, sort of messed up thing with them. They're not perfect. Yeah, that plays out really well on screen.
I mean, it couldn't be perfect. If it was perfect, they wouldn't have got to the point where they did, where everything starts to fuck up,
But did you know there was actually 2 endings to this? So in the UK ending, it, after the big mad scene at the end, which we'll get to, Sarah, played by Shauna Macdonald, she's crawling up that tunnel of bones, which is a fucking amazing scene. So, and then she crawls out of the cave eventually, and she sort of throws up, and then she gets into the car, and she sees Juno, the face of dead Juno, and then she realizes, or then it cuts back to the cave, and she sees her daughter, with the birthday cake, and she's hallucinating that her daughter's there, and that's where it ends for the UK version. But you don't get that last scene in the US version, apparently. It apparently just cut there whenever she sees Juno in the car, which I'm kind of thinking, why? I don't understand why they didn't just show that last scene. Yeah,
because it kind of plays into, like, especially this time rewatching it, you're kind of like, right, well, this is obviously going to be a story of her her survivor's guilt and her kind of PTSD of the event with her family and stuff. And it doesn't, yes, she's kind of fearful and panicky and everything because of that when she's down in the cave, but we don't really get this notion of, she still needs to be redeemed in that she takes on the creatures, but we don't really get those notions of any sort of like psychosis or anything until that end scene when we get Juno's like bloodied face and then the daughter with the cake. That's when it kind of is like properly reintroduced, and it's like, well, what if they had a string of that the whole way throughout the film? Like maybe wee glimpses, because again we see where she's a wee bit more paranoid than the rest of them, in that she can hear stuff going on, and it's her that sees first, or at least hears something first. But again, could they have lent into that more, this notion of, is this real or is it not real?
Yeah, I think I don't know why they decided to do that, but I feel like the actual real ending is better. The fact that she hasn't actually escaped from the cave. But yeah, anyway, down. She's still down there, and she's hallucinating the fact that her daughter's there, and it's almost like her daughter's come to say everything's going to be okay, or her daughter's come to say, you're going to die. You're going to come and meet me, or maybe she's already dead. It's a real ambiguous ending, and I really liked it.
I really enjoyed it, and I really like, as I said, they could have maybe let into it more because we get some of the dreams and stuff. The dream where she's like open up the window and then one of the poles come flying through her face.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, could you have lent into that more, and rather than it just being a dream, it actually is.
Yeah. Maybe they did want to do a bit more than that, and they kind of just had to shave a lot of it out and keep it more about the
spelunking
story of the spelunking. Yeah, I like the fact that Sarah's character is on a journey from the opening scene. Obviously, she loses her husband and her daughter, and then she's kind of going into this cave system, and she's quite timid at the start and afraid, I suppose. And she does have PTSD, and she does have the guilt, and she's riddled with hallucinations and memories and flashbacks of her.
Absolutely riddled.
Daughter, she's riddled with them, boy.
Riddled with them memories.
But she's on a real journey, and she gets, her journey is complete at the end because it's a 360 character turn basically.
Yep.
And you could say the film is her.
But well, then again, is it a 360 character turn because the UK ending implies that while she's hallucinated, that she's become stronger? In actuality, depending on what ending you get, she's actually just completely shut down into this moment with her daughter.
Yeah. You could say the film is her descent into madness. But yeah, so apparently the producers of the film weren't keen on a full female cast. It was actually Neil Marshall.
Of course they weren't.
Dirty fucking bastards.
We need more penis. We need more peepees.
We need man. Man must be
big
heroes.
Hunky men.
I know.
Big hunky men to save the day.
We did get some men, sort of, whenever the monsters come. Which,
but they didn't have peepees.
They didn't,
or at least not that we could see.
They did, but they were inside. They were all up inside.
It was so cold down there in the caves.
But we do know that they breed. So how do they breed? They must breed somehow. But there's a female. Amoebas. Yeah, maybe they just walk up and spit into each other's mouths or something. I don't know.
Hooray! That's mad. Because again, it's the bit when the one's like crawling over the top of Sarah and like that viscous like slime falls out of his mouth, and it turned me. I was like, that's not fucking rotten.
Maybe that was him trying to fucking have sex with Sarah. He's like, I'm not trying to eat you, I'm just trying to raid you. All the fucking shite hanging from his mouth. Pure stinking, boy, pure stinking. But the creature design is amazing.
It's really, as I said, so simple but really effective. I love the fact that it's very obviously like man bat in design, but just the like close-ups of their like wee beady eyes, like frantically flicking, and I love the motion of them. They almost have that kind of Nosferatu-esque motion. It's very skittish and almost looks like a stop motion because of how like skittish and shaky it is. I think I really enjoyed watching this time around. Just watching how they moved and stuff. And again, they can go really fast, but then when they are moving fast, it's just that real like nice fleeting. I don't know how to describe it. Like just like a little scurry, a little scurry creature.
Bat-like, very bat-like, but
Very
also
bat-like.
humanoid. They are human. Like they've got humanoid features.
Yeah.
In the sense that well, they look human. I think the original design was a bit more monstrous, and then they were like, no, we need to try to make them more human. Because the whole point was that this was a colony that have been here for thousands of years. It was like cavemen. They've evolved here. They've existed. They've lived here for so long.
Sort of a what if a bunch of Neanderthals had got trapped in a cave and had to adapt to those surroundings, sort of thing.
Yeah, and existed somehow through eating whatever
wandered into the cave. Yeah.
Animals and humans and all sorts. And but yeah, I just love that idea that it's not just like big random monsters. They've got a bit of a backstory.
Yeah,
I like that. They don't really explore the backstory, but you kind of have to just make it up in your own head. But that's obviously where they were going with it. I think in the sequel they maybe touch on it a little bit more, but in this one they don't really.
Have you seen the sequel?
I haven't. No,
I haven't seen the sequel. We must check it out.
It's. I've heard mixed reports on it, but it's definitely. I'm going to give it a shot. It's worth a watch, I'm sure. So, the creature design was amazing.
Really good. And we freaky eyes, we freaky movements, we freaky teeth. They've got those like wee freaky sort of almost turned in bat teeth.
Yeah. They sort of remind you of like Gollum. That kind of
really pale. You can see all the vein. The skin's almost translucent. And
it's whenever in Return of the King, whenever you see Smeagol's transformation to Gollum.
Yeah.
It's that sort of in between.
The middle bit, yeah. As the hair's starting to fall away from them and stuff.
It's kind of that idea, and it's got that similar look. But I do like the Nosferatu comparison as well, because I think it does have something like that. Definitely.
Vampire-esque,
Vampire-esque in there.
Because you get that, when you see in vampire movies when they've got that sort of transforming into a bat, but they're man-bat. That sort of look, Nice. Actually, Man-Bat in the Arkham, is Arkham City. Man-Bat makes an appearance, and there was almost he's not like the brown hairy one from the cartoons. He's got that pale skin with all the wires and stuff hanging off, and that's
The design was by a guy called Paul Hyatt, who had worked on a couple of other quite famous British films. He did Attack the Block.
Oh, very good. That. The creatures with that,
Yeah, and he worked on Eden Lake. He's a makeup guy as well, not just horror films, but he worked on Eden Lake and he's got loads of good movies around that time. And fucking quality design, man, quality makeup as well.
Yeah.
Musical score was done by a guy called David Jocelyn. And didn't know this, but he actually did the music to Cabin in the Woods as well.
Oh,
another favourite of ours.
Indeed.
Go back and watch our Cabin in the Woods episode.
You'll love it.
I know you'll love it. I'll put a wee link up there somewhere for it. But yeah, that was a class episode. I don't know, fucking up there somewhere. I think it's this.
One of the corners.
One of the corners that'll be up there somewhere. He did Memento as well, and he did The Prestige. So he's worked with Christopher Nolan before, and he's done a host of other shit. So, but yeah, quality.
We love a good score.
Quality score as well. Yeah. Were you prepared at how gory this film is? Because it's proper gory.
I mean, from the pipe scene at the start, I was kind of like, okay, yep, we're ready for it. And I think the gore, because a lot of it sort of happens in the dark, everything is kind of lit with like either reds. There's a lot of reds anyway throughout the film. So the blood is almost darkened by the fact that red light's on it. But the gore in it, I actually didn't find the gore like too much either, because there's that big pool of blood and stuff. But I'm kind of like, does it just look like a pool of blood, or is it just a pool of muck? Like general, like yes, there's probably blood and guts and stuff in it, but is it also just a really dirty puddle? But because of the lighting of the scene, you're like, dirty puddle, puddle of blood, dirty puddle, puddle of blood. But I love the way that everything's kind of lit, because obviously they're down the cave system, so everything's kind of done with the headlamps, and you know it's all kind of just the light's very minimal, but then you get those lovely moments where they've used like the glow sticks, so you've got like greens lighting up the scene, and sometimes when it's a bit darker there's a lovely blue. Yay! But yeah, so we've got all those there. The one thing that actually bothered me about this notion of headlamps was, and we've not talked about them for a while, but is the opening title card for this movie. Not a fan. Was not a fan.
It sort of lights up, doesn't it?
It sort of pans across the title, but as it like hits the middle of the title, there's a bit of like a lens flare thing going on. And yes, I'm kind of like, okay, it's a headlamp going over the title, but I was like, I'd have rather seen it like on, like if it had been like a stonework style title card or something, instead of just like this like typography, The Descent, with like a title thing and then a lens flare. I was like, all right, J.J. Abrams, calm the fuck down. And yeah, no,
doesn't really link in with kind of the tone.
No.
Yeah, interesting.
Not a fan of that title card, but no, everything else about it, and I love the setting. I love all that kind of natural. Like, yes, I know it's supposed to be America, but you still look at it and you go, that's fucking Scotland.
That's the fucking islands of Scotland, lad.
I fucking love bunny Scotland.
I love Scotland. Oh, Florida, Scotland. Danny, you love a Scottish accent.
I fucking do. You bot. Fucking kill you.
No, you're no.
No. I can't even fucking, this is just tickling me. Absolutely tickling me. But yeah, what a fantastic setting. I love all the lighting. I love the fact that the set pieces were all like structure, put together, taken apart, re-put together to make all these fantastic different like little cave networks. And I love as they go further and further down into it, there's just more, like at the start of it, there's just like, your typical spelunking locations, big, nice sort of wide, but again, a couple of wee narrow bits, but nothing too worrisome. But as they get further and further into, there's tighter wee narrow areas with cave-ins, and then that massive drop that they have to try and like secure the rope across. And then as you get down into the lair of the creatures, it just becomes all like bones and gore, and just another fantastic sort of strange cave network. But it's just very in keeping with like layer of the creature aesthetic.
It's got. I mean, it looks gorgeous. What they were able to do with that cave system was unreal, because it was just polystyrene, cut and shaved into shape, and obviously painted and blah blah blah. But it was designed by a guy called Simon Bowles, and the work on it's unreal, and the lighting in it, as you said, is unreal, and just the hues.
The hues.
Lovely. There's a lot of red hues in there as well, yeah. And it's just a gorgeous film. Like, it really is a gorgeous film. And the tricky thing they had with this was, obviously they're filming it in a cave, so there's no lights. And how can we light this? We have to use headlamps, we have to use glow sticks. They use the camera, the night vision camera, which is the first time you see the creature, which is fucking unreal. And I've forgotten like quite how sort of like fucking scary it was.
Yeah.
And it's Sarah's character turns on the night vision goggles, and she sees, I think it's Beth, and the creature's just behind Beth's shoulder. So it's amazing, and what a scare that was. And just really well lit, gorgeous film, and unreal what they could do on the budget that they had, and the cave system, and the fact that they had to cut this down and rebuild it and move it around and make it look really different.
What a way to just save on a budget. As you say, it was only what, 3.5 billion. And yeah, I mean, still a decent amount of money, but probably nowhere near the amount of money that they would have had to put into, like, I mean, if they'd done this for real somewhere, the amount of money you'd have to spend on health and safety and the gear and you know, it would have been insane. Wouldn't be feasibly possible.
No way.
But yeah,
Would have been too dangerous as well to film in
exactly.
caves.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to reuse the systems rather than just try build one massive fake cave system. That would have been cool though. Imagine an adventure park where you can go in and just play in a giant styrofoam cave.
I know.
While being pursued by man bats.
Bat-like man, fucking humanoid golems.
Man bats.
I know. That would have been crazy. Getting chased by fucking blind creatures.
I think, do we need to go and put something to Tourism and I and say, can we set up a styrofoam cave system with man bats inside and people have to figure out how to get through it?
Why not? People love getting chased.
I mean, people love everyone's done the whole like haunted house experience thing. I think it's time for man bat cave experience.
Man bat cave.
Man bat cave.
Experience, because you have to always add experience on it.
Experience. To make it it's only an experience because we don't want people to think it's the real thing. It's only the experience of.
They're not actual real.
Not actual real man bats. Yeah, exactly.
Or are they?
Ooh, we dug them out ourselves.
We do. Yeah, we did. So
come on here, you bastards. We have a job for you.
Just get a wee whistle. Fucking.
All
the dogs will come running.
And then they'll fight with the man bats, and then we'd be sad because the man bats would probably win and
would eat the dogs, yeah. And we don't like to see
dogs. No, we don't like to see dogs hurt. People dying, people getting attacked by man bats, fine. Dogs getting attacked by man bats, not so much. Not so much. There was so many bones in this movie. So many different creatures.
If you are a man bat and you want to get in touch with us, and you like the idea of being in a cave and scaring people, give us a buzz. We'll
if you want to be part of the Man Bat Cave experience, let us know.
Let us know. We'll try and set something up this Halloween, the best we can, COVID permitting.
Of course. The man bats might not be able to touch you, but they'll just stand 2 meters away.
And as long as they're 2 meters away, they won't be wearing masks though, because you need to see their fangs.
Yeah.
So
they won't be able to slobber on you though. There'll be no viscous slobber.
Well,
by the place. Not on you.
That's dirty stuff. No
viscous slobber in here.
No breeding. They could wear a visor, maybe.
But then it will just get gross on the inside. I don't trust man bats to keep their visors clean. They're not the most hygienic of beings. Have you seen their houses? They're disgusting and covered in bones and
we're gonna get loads of complaints now from man bats.
Yeah, just be like, how dare you discriminate
put us
against
in a pigeonhole. We're not all the same, It
was 12 years ago. We've grown since then.
It happened once, for fuck's sake. We apologise to any man bats.
We apologise to all man bats out there, or woman bats as well,
because they exist too. Because we've seen one.
Yeah, so
we floppy daddies. Weren't really daddies. They were sort of just curves, really.
Yeah, but they're not like the Howling werewolf with ditties.
No,
because that werewolf had ditties, but this didn't. It was just more curvaceous.
Aye.
A curvaceous man bat, woman bat.
She had hair as well, so
you
have to give woman bats their
hair, and man bats such as myself remain bald.
I know. I'm surprised he didn't have a big bushy beard though.
You'd think, I don't know. Do you need sunlight to grow hair? Do I need to go stand out in the sun?
Yeah, well, the woman bat had hair.
Right enough.
Just in her head though.
Oh, no. But just her head. Bats have hair. They're furry wee creatures. Something's not adding up here, Gav.
Let's move on. Fucking hell. Anyway, favourite scenes. What was your favourite scene?
Favorite scenes? I think some of my favorite scenes were, I really liked the scene actually where they're trying to get across the chasm, and they're doing, because I've done bouldering and stuff, I'm watching them doing trying to get the grips into the holds and all that sort of stuff. I was kind of terrible technique.
I was going to say, were you watching this being like, that's not real, you didn't train?
You just didn't train for that. No, I really enjoyed it. I actually thought that scene was really good, and I thought, again, it seemed really genuine and authentic. You can see the care and attention taken to make that seem very real, and I imagine they probably did get training for that. And yeah, I really enjoyed that scene, and I really enjoy I enjoyed the end, as we said, with the whole kind of, well, what's the real ending, you know? And yeah, just anything with the man bats, I just love that skittish nature and the way they move around and stuff. Well, we've discussed before how much I love sort of creature acting and the kind of care and attention that those actors put into bringing those beasties alive. And I mean, the likes, I think it all started with like Andy Serkis as Caesar and how he talks about how he developed the way he moved and stuff. So seeing then that within different creatures, I think is fantastic. You know, it's unreal, whether it be with prosthetics on or mocap or anything. There's just that attention to detail. It's fantastic to watch play out on screen. So anytime basically that the man bats were on screen, I was like, look at you go, you skittish little bastard.
Little fucking bastards.
What were you? What was your...
I really liked the bit that Juno fucks her in the neck.
Oh,
she's fighting the man bats. They're actually called crawlers. I don't even know
we
where we're going
to clarify that.
People will be watching this going, man bats, where the fuck are you? They don't even look like bats, but she's got the big spitey thing. And she's killing a few or whatever, and then she turns around and fucks her in the neck with it. That was crazy.
Yeah. That was, again, what a moment that you just go, whoa. Yeah. Fantastic. And just that, when it comes through the other side and a bit of like...
Yeah, it was obviously insanely shocking. But the fact that it's just like the implications of what that had on the rest of the story and the fact that she leaves her, Juno fucking leaves her dying, and she's like basically saying, don't leave me here. Juno just says, nah, I can't, I have to go, and she fucks off. And then that starts the downward spiral of the friendship between Juno and Sarah, because obviously Sarah discovers Beth and she discovers it's like a wee pendant she's wearing, isn't it? She pulls a pendant off her and it says, what is it? It says something that reminds her of her husband. Love each day, or
oh, that's right. She says at the start when they're all in the cabin and they're talking about like reminiscing, and she's like, oh, not love each day as if it's your last, but it's like, something along those lines.
It's something like that, but it's a throwback, obviously, and when she sees it, she knows, fuck, that's something my husband used to tell me, and Juno's obviously been diddling my husband. So, and then you get that great face off at the end between Sarah and Juno, and so amazing whenever you sort of think they're going to have this big fight, but Sarah just smacks her in the leg, and then that means she can't run away, and she's like sort of basically waiting for the creatures to attack her and kill her. But there's an amazing shot when we're at the end at the pool of blood, and Sarah is underneath the pool of blood, and she just comes up.
Very Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now, Predator, it just reminded me of those kind of shots.
There was that moment where she's kind of up on the rock, and it's the other girls have got separated from Sarah, and she comes up from the puddle, and she does that stance, that Predator stance, and Arnie's like got the torch in one hand and thing, and the other he's all covered in the mud, and he's like, and she does it too, but she's shouting like, no, and I was just like, fucking nice Predator reference.
Definitely. No, I definitely got the Predator, and I was just like Predator is one of my favorite films, and it's like, fuck, this is, a real throwback to that, because it's about, even though there was a grip, Sarah's on her own and she's kind of fighting this mysterious creature, and she's, she doesn't know if she's going to survive, and it's just that, it's like a guttural scream that she has, and it's just, she's just a survivor in that moment, and not just from the creatures, but from her past and her grief and everything that went before it, and
coming through it all.
It's amazing. But that whole pool of blood
sequence, again, is absolutely fantastic. I think one of the things I really love about this film is that it doesn't hold back. It doesn't hold its punches. It'll show you like really close-ups of the action, like when it's not Sarah, who is it, drives the bit of deer horn into one of the crawler's eyes, and you get that close-up of all the like blood and gunge
is that
coming out of the eye.
Is it under the water, or is that when she's fighting him?
No, she pulls the knife. Sarah falls down into that, and she pulls the knife out of it, and all the blood starts just like streaming out into the water. But no, it's just after that bit, I think, and they're in the. I think they maybe just crawled out of the puddle, and one of the creatures comes down on her, and she's like in amongst all the bones and sees like a bit of deer horn sitting and just plunges it into the eye and just get that close up. And again, even the detail of showing you Beth's neck getting whacked.
Or at the start when Holly breaks her leg as well.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you see her bones sticking out and all? It's just like gruesome.
I think, yeah, when she falls down into that sort of hole, I like that it doesn't, I think with a lot of action and stuff, it's all implied. But with this, we get to see all the details, the gory details of it. And I know we sort of said like I didn't mind it so much with this, but I think it's because, again, if the scene had been any more lit up, it would have maybe looked more gruesome. But I think because they're using those reds and those greens and stuff, it offsets the gore of it, because it is all just more of the palette's not as, it's not naturally lit.
I think Neil Marshall was heavily influenced by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In this movie, I think he wanted it to have the sort of same setup where it was kind of like slow build, and then all of a sudden, bit like the Texas Chainsaw. Whenever you meet Leatherface, it's crazy after that, and then
all kicks off.
You meet the crawlers in this, and it's crazy after this. And he likes his bones. A bit like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's fucking bones everywhere.
So many, but it's when you see the first lot of bones it's through the night vision camera as well, and it's the two human skulls sitting beside each other, and then it cuts away from the night vision camera, and it's just like a wide shot, and you just see bones everywhere. And from there, I'm pretty sure there's bones basically in every scene after that.
There's so many lovely shots in this. You said the wide shot there. The shot of her standing with the torch is really nice, when she's kind of standing on the boulder. And then there's a shot later on where she's climbing up the tunnel to escape. Yep. And it's quite a wide shot, and it's like a light shining down, and she's climbing up the tunnel, and she's climbing through bones, and that's beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous film, man. Gorgeous.
So good. So good. I'm glad we decided to talk about it this season. I actually went back to it, because I think had we not decided to do this, I don't know if I would have gone back and watched it.
Yeah. No,
it's one of those ones I never sort of thought, I must go back and watch that, because I think the first time I watched that was just like
meh. It's a film that, like as I said earlier, I didn't kind of watch it till only a few years ago. I've rewatched it a few times since, and I have really grown. My love for it has grown with every rewatch, and it's definitely grown or jumping up my list of favorite horror films.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would creep in my top 10 just yet, but it's definitely up there, and it probably will as I rewatch it.
Nice. We must watch the sequel sometime.
We'll get the sequel.
And see how it goes.
We've definitely got Dog Soldiers on the list for a future episode. Maybe not this season, but we'll have to do Dog Soldiers as well, because it's a fun watch.
100%. We'll have to bring our resident lycanthrope in.
Of course.
For that there. Of course. We need to find... I wonder if there's any resident man-bat experts out there.
I'm sure.
We can bring in for man-bat things. Is there any other man-batty style movies out there?
I'm sure there's plenty.
There's bound to be other stuff that has man-bats or Batmen.
Batman. Well, maybe we'll see. We'll maybe do something with Batman at some point in the future.
Man, I would be up for talking about Batman Begins, because some of the stuff with Scarecrow can get quite spoopy. I think Scarecrow is definitely like, there's a lot of horror elements to Batman.
100%, man. 100%. Anyway, that sort of wraps up our episode of The Descent, Part 1. So we teased that this was part 1 of a double episode, and part 2 will be dropping in a couple of days on our YouTube channel, and it will be an exclusive interview with Shauna Macdonald, the lead star, final girl, the Scottish siren. She's amazing in this, and we were lucky enough to get in contact with her, and she was very, very generous in donating some of her time to answering a bunch of questions that we sent her. It's an audio interview that we'll be posting up on our channel shortly. So if you can, please check that video out too. We really, really appreciate it. And we really, really appreciate the fact that she gave up her time to answer a couple of Spippy Boys questions.
Yeah. And I mean, we've already listened to it. It's great. So definitely check it out. Yeah.
We love Shauna Macdonald. She's amazing. So
hard not to talk about the stuff that she's already going to talk about,
I
because
know,
obviously don't want to be like repeating what she said. But it's great. It's lovely to hear her. She's very passionate about this film in particular. So definitely check that out when we drop it later in the week.
Please do. But if you've got any comments or any questions about this episode, please drop them in the comments section below. Are you a fan of The Descent? Have you seen the sequel? What do you think of the sequel? What's your
opinion on Man-Bats?
Well, I was going to say, what's your opinion on Man-Bats?
If you are a Man-Bat, get in touch.
We'll talk about that little experience idea that we had. Do you think that she got out of the cave at the end?
Which ending was real?
Which ending was real and stuff like that? Is Juno a bitch, or she just misunderstood? She's a bitch.
Egotistical, I would say. Egotistical.
Bloody Americans.
Goddamn
Americans. So yeah, leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching. Follow us on Twitter and Insta at the Fright Club NI. Check out the website www.thefrightclubni.com.
And you got to remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell too, because we like to hit the bell. Needs more cowbell.
Bing. Yes, that's not even a bell, is it? I don't know.
Bing, that was one of those wee bells at like a hotel foyer. Yeah, that's what that was the kind of noise we're making there. Ding-a-ling.
Please like, subscribe, and all that good shit, and tell your horror pals about us, and be sure to check out the part 2 of the Descent episode coming up in a couple of days. So, right, guys, that's all from us. Until next week, take care, stay safe. Bye.
Bye.